ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ। ਜਿਉਂ ਦੀਸੈ ਗੁਰ ਸਿੱਖੜਾ ਤਿਸ ਨਿਵ ਨਿਵ ਲਾਗੋ ਪਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਆਖਾਂ ਬਿਰਥਾ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਗੁਰ ਸੱਜਣ ਦੇਹ ਮਿਲਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਸੋਈ ਦਸ ਉਪਦੇਸੜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਮਨ ਅਨੰਤ ਨਾ ਕਾਹੂ ਜਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਇਹੋ ਮਨ ਤੈ ਕੂਡੇ ਵਸਾ ਮੈਂ ਮਾਰਗ ਦੇਹੋ ਬਤਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਹਉ ਆਇਆ ਦੂਰੋ ਚੱਲ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੱਕੀ ਤੋ ਸਰਨਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਮੈਂ ਆਸਾ ਰੱਖੀ ਚਿਤ ਮਹਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਭੋ ਦੁੱਖ ਗਵਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਇਤ ਮਾਰਗ ਚੱਲੇ ਪਾਈੜੇ ਗੁਰ ਕਹਿ ਸੋ ਕਾਰ ਕਮਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਤਿਆਗੈ ਮਨ ਕੀ ਮਤੜੀ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੂਜਾ ਭਾਉ ਜਿਉ। ਇਉ ਪਾਵੈ ਹਰ ਦਰ ਸਾਵੜਾ ਨਹਿ ਲੱਗੈ ਤਤੀ ਵਾਉ ਜਿਉ। ਹਉ ਆਪੋ ਬੋਲ ਨਾ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿਆ ਸਭ ਹੁਕਮਾਉ ਜਿਉ। ਹਰ ਭਗਤ ਖਜ਼ਾਨਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਗੁਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਕੀਆ ਪਸਾਉ ਜਿਉ। ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁੜ ਨਾ ਤ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨਾ ਭੁਖੜੀ ਹਉ ਰੱਜਾ ਤ੍ਰਿਪਤ ਅਗਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਜਿਉ ਗੁਰ ਦੀਸੈ ਸਿੱਖੜਾ ਤਿਸ ਨਿਵ ਨਿਵ ਲਾਗੋ ਪਾਏ ਜਿਉ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਮਾਫੀ ਮੰਗਦਾ ਹਾਂ, ਤੇ ਜ਼ੁਕਾਮ ਲੱਗਿਆ, so if I do sneeze, do forgive me. ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, we're going to start with Rehraas Sahib. It's a new year in the Gregorian calendar. We've got our own pange in our Panth about our own calendar anyway. Hopefully my Panth will sort them out. But as everybody in the beginning of the year tends to make resolutions, what they want to change for this year, let's ourselves make a resolution that if we've gone through the Panch Baniya and now we're starting to Rehraas Sahib, that we start to incorporate those into our daily rehat. Aaj bhi mera vichar hoya Sikh de naal. We were in Bradford this morning and there was a Sikh, he said, you know, if I read all my part in the morning, I don't have any time to do any Bani vichar. ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਰੋਜ਼ ਇਹ ਪਾਠ ਕਰ ਲਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਵਕਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਹਤਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਘੱਟ ਪਾਠ ਪੜਾਂ ਤੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਹੋਰ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰ ਲਵਾਂ। It's a good question. He said, why don't I read a little bit less part and spend a bit more time doing vichar of the part, learning it. But Satsanga ji, Maharaj isn't given us part only to do vichar of, it's also to do kamai of that part. We don't understand the power of this part. Even when we don't understand the part, it's still having an effect upon us. It's like a pot full of water. Even if it doesn't start off dirty, if it starts off dirty, if you keep putting clean water into it, and the water keeps pouring out, at some point, the dirt inside the pot will come off as well. And Bani, Maharaj says, is Vaho Vaho Bani Nirankar hai, tis jevad avarna koi. There's nothing like Gurbani in this world. Gurbani has a lot of power, and we should trust our Guru's hukum that we should read part anyway. Guru Sada hukum man ke na, ma hukum maniye hoye parvan, ta khasme ka mahal paisi. So by accepting our Guru's hukum and saying, look, even if I don't understand it right now, let me start reading it, the faida will be twofold. First, we get Guru's khushiyan. We spend that time learning part, Guru Sahib is happy with us, we're doing what our Guru told us. Secondly, that Bani will become more and more memorized to us. ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਬਾਣੀ ਕੰਠ ਪੈਸਾ ਗੰਠ. Now that people don't know what gantri is, but you used to have a knot in your kapade where you used to put money. And what they say is, as you've memorized Bani, you've got more money in your pocket. Why? You can spend it whenever you want. You don't have to go anywhere to spend that money. ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੈ. Some of ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਖਰਚਨੇ ਹੈਗੇ. If you've got a credit card in your pocket or a debit card, you're going to go to the cash machine, get the money out. If you've got the money in your pocket already, you can spend it whenever you want. ठीक है ना? That's what Bani Kant is. Having Bani memorized. So when you do it every day, you will get the Bani memorized as well. And we should take the time out to do our part. And Maharaj Kirpa kare, we can actually then start to do vichar of it as well. And the thing is there's no rush with the vichar. You know? You're going to be doing Japji Sahib for the next... If you start doing it now, whichever age you're at, if kids start doing it when they're about 13, 14, or even before that, Maharaj Kirpa kare, then they've got the rest of their life to do Japji Sahib. So holi they can go through the one, even if they went through one podi a week, in that way, you can then get through it within a year of Japji Sahib. Then, we've been going for 2.5 years. Jehdi bhi sangat aandi hai, those sangat that have been coming for 2.5 years, then they've gone through all Panth Baniyan, just once. And it's not too much, is it? Sahaje hafte vich ek wari aana. It's not too much to come once in a week. So in this way, we get our Bani memorized, and we get to understand it as well. Yes, we should spend time doing vichar, but we should earn the Bani as well. Kamai karni. Something like Jap Sahib, for example, will never get memorized if you're going to do it just slowly and do it like one podi at a time. Jap Sahib is all about muscle memory. When somebody gets Jap Sahib memorized, when they read the part, they hardly ever think about the part. They open their mouth and the part comes out. Why? Because the mouth has memorized the Bani. The throat has memorized the Bani. The mind has not yet memorized the Bani. Man nu pata nahi ki aana ki hega, Jaban nu pata aage ki aana. And it sounds weird, but pata lagta hai ki there's something wrong with what came out if it's not right. So in this way, Kant, in Punjabi the word Kant, is actually your throat. So Bani Kant means the Bani is in your throat. The throat and the muscles of the throat memorize the Bani, even if the mind doesn't memorize the Bani. So in this way, it's muscle memory. And the only way to do that is by repetition. You can't do it any other way. You have to do it again and again and again. So let's start with the introduction to Rehraas Sahib. In our Itihas, Japji Sahib was the Bani given in the morning, and Sodar was the Bani given in the evening by Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. In Kartarpur, Bhai Gurdas Ji writes that in the morning they would read Japji Sahib, and in the evening it was Sodar. So when you look in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, first comes Japji Sahib, then comes Sodar Rehraas. So in Sodar's part, this Guru Nanak Dev Ji's part is almost the same as the Bani that comes up in Japji Sahib. The podi, which is called Sodar, which comes up in Japji Sahib, it's almost the same. There's some differences. Firstly, there's a Mangal, Ik Oankar Satgur Prasad. This Sodar part, it comes in Japji Sahib 3 times. In Guru Granth Sahib Ji 3 times. Firstly in Japji Sahib. Secondly in Sodar Rehraas, which comes after Japji Sahib. And then thirdly in Rag Asa, it comes up as Sodar as well. So it's repeated in there 3 times, but when it comes the second time, it starts with a small Mangal of Ik Oankar Satgur Prasad, which is like the introduction. And obviously the Rag is given. In Japji Sahib there is no Rag given, and in Japji Sahib there is no sign of who wrote Japji Sahib. There is no Mahalla Pehla. But in this one is Rag Asa Mahalla Pehla. Now in Guru Granth Sahib Ji, after Sodar by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, comes 2 more Shabad by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, one by Guru Ramdas Ji, and one by Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, and then it goes to Sopurk, which is by Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj. Yeah? After Sopurk, there's one more Shabad by Guru Ramdas Ji, then there's one more by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and then there's Asa Mahalla Panjab by Guru Arjan Dev Ji, which is Pai Parapat Manuk De Huriya, Gobind Milan Ki Ehteri Bariya. So these are the Shabdas that come up in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And then after that, in Guru Granth Sahib Ji, it will go to Sohila, Kirtan Sohila. So Guru Granth Sahib Ji is starting with Japji Sahib, then the first part of Rehraas Sahib, and then Kirtan Sohila. And then it's going into Siri Rag, right? So effectively, Guru Granth Sahib Ji is starting off with your Nitnem. So जब भी पूछते हैं कि मैं नितनेम क्यों करा, फिर सवेरे जपजी साहब, शामी रहरास साहब ते कीर्तन सोहला महाराज ने मुख विच ही रख दिता. The thing you're going to eat the most, they put it at the front. So we must do these three things at the very least. As we're starting off a journey of Sikhi, if we start off by saying, I can't do maybe Panj Bani in the morning, but the very minimum should be Jagraj Sahib, Rehraas Sahib, and Kirtan Soila. These three things are the very minimum. I mean, we are basics of Sikhi. So our first advice is to everybody is to start with these three Baniya and then build up. So we must read Rehraas Sahib. Now why do we have an evening part? Sikhi is very practical, you know. Firstly, Maharaj is given part for us in the morning, before we even have our breakfast. So that means the Sikh tends to sleep less than other people. Maybe the Sikh might sleep less, or maybe the Sikh goes to sleep earlier than other people. People are sitting there late night. Nowadays we've got more distractions late night than any time in history. But they should go to sleep a bit earlier than other people, and therefore they can wake up a little bit earlier than most people and then do their part. Somebody said to me, "Swere time nahi hunda." I was like, really? If you wake up a bit earlier, suddenly you'll have time. So jara banda 6 baje उठ के 7 बजे तक तैयार हो जाता है, वो 5:30 बजे उठ जावे, ਉਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਅੱਧਾ ਘੰਟੇ ਵਾਧੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ. And that time they can do part. So it's not possible that we haven't got enough time in the morning. It's just about waking up earlier. Maybe going to sleep earlier. But Sasangaji, maybe we can't go to sleep earlier that much. But one thing is guaranteed, as you do more part, you need less sleep. You don't realize that sometimes because part di kawai nahi kiti. If we haven't earned Shabad, earned the value of Shabad, we won't understand this. But the more part you do, the less sleep you will need. Many Mahapurukhs have actually given up sleeping. They've done so much part, so much Simran, they've now stopped sleeping. They just lie and they do Simran. And 2-3 hours of Simran, and they're ready again for the rest of the day. They are ready for the Amrit Vela. So sleep is something which the brain requires when it's at a low level. When it gets to that higher level of supreme consciousness, and even in Sikhi, that's called Turiya Avastha. Turiya Avastha means constant consciousness. Jive Rabbi nahi sonda, fir Mahapurukh bhi nahi sonde. He doesn't sleep. Waheguru does not sleep. The same way a Sikh who gets to that level does not sleep. So sleep is not as important as your bani is. Once we get that into our head, we tell our body, sleep is not as important as part. Food is not as important as part. When we tell the mind that is what's important for you is part, then the mind will come around and start to do part. If you keep telling the mind, oh, sleep is more important, oh, food is more important, don't worry about the part, then it would take the easy option. Because that's what people are like, innit? We take the easy option. When you force your mind, you say, no, you ain't going to get food, you ain't going to get as much sleep, but you're going to do your part, and holy, the mind will come around. So wake up a little bit earlier and make some time for part. Then again, for Rehraas Sahib, do it. Even if you force your body, say, chalo theek hai, you might have missed it for whatever reason, which is in the evening, but then you say, okay, well, I'm not going to sleep until I do Rehraas Sahib. Right? And it could be 2 a.m. and you're sitting there doing a Rehraas Sahib. But the way is to force your mind, you're not going to get away from this red. You ain't going nowhere. So therefore the mind will suddenly start to understand that let's just get it out of the way then. Get it out of the way in the evening. And that is a good way to build it into our system, because it's like food. We have to have it 3 times a day. Morning, evening and night time. That's what Maharaj has made this for us. It's very practical, Rehraas Sahib. Svere utھ ke path karna before the day starts, and then when you come home from work, then Rehraas Sahib. It's kind of like built around a working day. Sikhi is made for practical people. It's made for people that are living in the world. So obviously, some part in the morning and some part in the evening, it brings us back on type. So if in the day you've gone into Kaljug, effectively, and this Pavak Sagar Athal Lehr mein Taro Taran Hari, this world which is burning, then you need to come back out of that world and into Sikhi again. Where did you start off in the morning? You started off with Amrit Vela. So there's 2 Amrit Velas in Sikhi. The first is in the morning, before the day has started. And the second one is in the evening. When the time changes from day to night, those are Amrit Velas. Before when that change is taking place, it's neither day nor night. And this is the time of Amrit Vela. And the Rag Asa is traditionally a Rag of Amrit Vela. That's why Asa Diva is done in the morning. But in Sikhi, Rag Asa is also done in the evening, in Rehraas Sahib. So you see the same rag is being sung now in the evening. Maharaj has given it 2 times. Because they said it's a Amrit Vela as well. The second Amrit Vela is the evening when the time changes. Because everything is changing at that time. People are changing their whole mentality. They're getting ready for home now. And we have to ourselves refocus ourselves, recenter ourselves onto Sikhi at that time. Because during the day, your mind gets taken away into the world. And now it's about coming back. And in fact, it's shorter. If it was an hour longer, like in the morning nitnem, it'd be hard for us to fit it in. But Guru Sahib de Kirpa, they know what people are like. They've given them 15 minutes, which is actually something which we can fit in the time from work to back home. You can take a little bit of time out. Even if you're going to do it with your kids, it's not so long, right? 15 minutes with your family. It's not a whole hour out. Because we are practical people, we live in the world. Gristi Jeevan hai, and we are earning as well. And we've got kids, etc. And in a way, when I look at Rehraas Sahib, it's telling us what we're aiming for. Because it starts with Sodar. Sodar is that door of Waheguru. What are we aiming for? Like you can come home and you forget what life is about. Very easy to forget what life is about. And as soon as you do Rehraas Sahib, first thing you talk about is, who is that? Where are we aiming for? Sachkhand. What happens in Sachkhand? They sing about you, Waheguru. So we start to realize that we should sing about him. When we get to the Sodar Paudi, we're not going to get to it now. But in that Paudi, everything is Tudnu. Tudnu. In Japji Sahib, that Tudnu doesn't come up so much. It's Gavan. Here, Gavan is Tudnu. Why? Because you're focusing your mind back on you. Waheguru, you and your door. And then straight away after that, Maharaj gives us the other Paudi of So Purkh. Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj. What is that being that we're worshipping? Where are we aiming for? And who is that being that we are worshipping? So Purkh. What is that Purkh like? Akal Purkh. What is he like? So he's refocusing us, reminding us what we're aiming for and who is the being that we are worshipping. And also it's very simple. They're simple shabads. It's not very complicated and it's also very easy to memorize. Many people I've met, you wouldn't even guess, but they've got Rehraas Sahib Kanth. It's very easy to get it memorized. You do it every day. The hardest part is So Purkh Paudi. So that is fairly quite straightforward because you do it twice in a day. But the hardest one is So Purkh. Once you've got that cracked, the rest of it is easy. Yeah? Chaupai Sahib is quite easy as well. And in a way, it's like a dynamic Bani. It grew with Sikhi. First Guru Nanak Dev Ji gave Sodar. Then there was 2 more shabads, the Asa Mahalla Pehla. Yeah? Then, after that, So Purkh came in. Guru Ram Das Ji's put their Bani. Then Guru Arjan Dev Ji put their Bani. Then more Bani by Guru Ram Das Ji. And in this way, it grew organically. As the Gurus wrote more, the evening Rehraas Sahib grew more. When they came to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, they said, well, you're going to do Benti Chaupai in the morning, but I want you to do Benti Chaupai again in the evening. Get a bit of Bir Ras, get a bit of warrior spirit inside you. Remind yourself what it is you're looking for and who do you want to protect you. Then again, we get the Anand Sahib as well. Now, if you look at the Rehraas Sahib, it's like a mini Panjbaniya. First, you start off with Sodar, which is from Rehraas Sahib. You get a few more Paudis about the importance of Naam. That's a bit like Shabad Azari. Then, after that, you get So Purkh. Now, So Purkh is a bit like Jab Sahib. It's reminding you who that being is that we're worshipping. After you get through So Purkh, there's a few more Shabads about the importance of Naam, which is a bit like Svaya, to understand that you should be humble, you should be thinking about Pyar, that you're here to meet Waheguru, Gobind Milan ki eh teri bariya. And then after that, it's Chaupai Sahib. Chaupai Sahib the baad, you got Anand Sahib. So it's like the Panj Baniya in like a small version for the evening, reminding you what you did in the morning, back in the evening. So Guru Maharaj is always trying to keep us focused upon the same things. Now you might say, why is there so much repetition in Sikhi? There's so much repetition because our brain is so forgetful. Yeah? Maharaj says, we forget all the kene poolanahar. Yeah? Lekha kade na chutiya, kene poolanahar, bakshanahar, bakshde, nanak par utar. We forget all the time what life is about. Yeah? So Maharaj is always saying, Som kyon visre meri mai. Why do we forget him? It's very easy to forget him. So in this way, we remind ourselves the basic truths about life. Sikhi is actually not that complicated. In a way, the Nitnem reminds us, Sikhi is not that complicated. If we just got the basics right, if we just got the idea that we're here for Naam, we're here to be good people, we would get blessed. It's not so complicated, but it is about doing kamai of the Shabad. And that's why the same Shabads come up every day. And in fact, Waheguru is just one word, but it can get you to Sachkhand. But how? By repeating it again and again and again. Not by saying it just once, bas bhaja. Yeah? Very few people can say Waheguru and that's it, get there. Most of us forget every 2 seconds to say Waheguru. So we say it the 3rd second, the 4th second. We're always reminding ourselves, what's the point of life? Waheguru. Now there's a Sakhi about the importance of Rehraas Sahib. And this is from the book by Sant Kartar Singh Ji Khasa Pindrawale, which is Gurbani Part Darpan. And what they say is that Guru Angad Dev Ji once went to meet somebody called Sun Samadhi. They went to a town to meet Sun Samadhi. And on the way they met loads of people. The first group of people they met, their faces were all black. Mara says to them, are you Sun Samadhi? And they say, no, we are the people that took loans and then we denied that we'd taken that loan out. Mukkar gaye. Karza kadke, asi mukkar gaye si. So they ate somebody else's earnings. And Mara says in Bani, ki paryan da haqq kade nahi lena. For a Sikh, we never steal from other people. So these are people that had effectively stolen money and denied they stolen money. So they were liars and they were thieves. And their face got blackened. Then they said, no, we're not Sun Samadhi, he's forward ahead. They went forward ahead and there was a second group of people. And these second group of people, they had nails in their neck. They were kile, toke gaye se in their neck. And they said, are you Sun Samadhi? They said, no. They said, we are the people who didn't respect Guruji when they came into the Darbar. So they stayed sitting down when Guruji came into the Darbar. They didn't show him that respect. Just like sometimes when Guru Granth Sahib Ji comes into the room and there's already Guru Granth Sahib Ji here, what should we all do? We should all stand up anyway. Yes, Guru Granth Sahib Ji is here, we're in their Hazri, but Guru Granth Sahib Ji also come in from the back. That's also our Guru, so we should all stand up in respect. So these are the people that didn't do that, and because they had that pride, then they've got these nails in their neck. So Maharaj goes on the head. In the third group, they had heads of pigs on their body. And Maharaj says, well, are you Sun Samadhi? They said, no, we are people that did loads of nindya. They did not nindya doesn't mean always telling the truth about somebody. Nindya is people who are criticizing people when they know it's lies. Slander, telling lies about somebody, making them look bad. Then they went forwards. The fourth group, they actually had their heads on backwards. And these are people then that had done bear from their Guru. They turned away from the Guru, so now they're walking around with their necks on backwards. Then after they went to the fifth group, and these again, they were not Sun Samadhi, these were some women that were cooking people and eating them. And they said, what's going on here? They asked them, what are you doing? They said that we are daughters who were sold by our father. Our father sold us and took money for our, like people who are selling their, in our Panth, it's normally people give money when the daughter gets born, but these people have done the other thing, not born, but when they get married, they give money for the daughter. But here, these people are taking money for their daughter, and that you sold their daughters into slavery, effectively, for the sake of money. And the daughters had then had the desire to sell their parents, sell their dad, make them feel the same thing. And therefore now they were cooking them and eating their parents. You might seem a bit gory, this story. You know? Then they went on ahead and they finally met somebody who had come down from Sachkhand. And his name was Sun Samadhi. Maharaj says, okay, Sun Samadhi, well, you're here. He goes, yes. He goes, how much power? Maharaj says, how much power do you have? He says, put your ear to my chest. You can see how much taqat I have. Maharaj puts their ear to his chest and they can hear Simran from every roam. Every little hair on this person's body was jumping Naam. This is a real experience. Sant Kartar Singh Ji themselves, once when they were ill in hospital, the doctor didn't believe in God. Doctor was trying to check their heartbeat, and he put the stethoscope to their chest. When he put the stethoscope to their chest, he didn't hear a heartbeat, he just heard Waheguru Simran. All he could hear was so much Waheguru Simran, the doctor changed his whole life around. Yeah, if you can jump Naam, I can hear it on your, even every single one of your hairs is jumping Naam, then he decided then to become a proper Sikh. So, it can happen. So this Mahatma has come down from Sachkhand, he's Sun Samadhi, he's jumping Naam so much, and then Maharaj says, why are you here then? Why are you not in Sachkhand? He said, what happened is that when Sodar was first set out by Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, then in Sachkhand also they started to read Sodar. Some people have a conception, a misconception, that in Sikhi you just merge back into Waheguru, there's nothing there. But Satsangiji, that doesn't make too much sense. Because when the soul leaves this body, and if it gets mukti, it goes to another plane of existence in Sachkhand. And we know what Sachkhand is like. In Sachkhand, people are there and they're singing Kirtan. They're joined to Waheguru, but they're still there singing to Waheguru. It's so hard for us to understand. Manne ki gat kahi na jaye. We can't understand that. But they're not disappeared. They're still there. And they're singing Kirtan. So Kabir ji, Farid ji, they're all still in Sachkhand singing Kirtan. That's how we can understand that they came down and gave darshan to Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, and their Bani is still here. And they wrote the Bani down from the Pratak darshan of those Mahapurukhs. In the same way, the Gurus are still here. The Gurus are here on earth, and they're also there in Sachkhand. Many people have darshan of the Gurus. Many Mahapurukhs have darshan of the Gurus. They haven't just merged back and disappeared. They're still there, but they're still in Sachkhand. It's like a place where they are one with Waheguru, but they still exist. They haven't gone. And in the same way, you can understand that all the shaheeds, all the people that are done Naam Bani, they're still around. When people sometimes do Simran, or people like, for example, they start to follow a certain Mahapurukh, then they start to have that closeness with that Mahapurukh, because that person is still there. They haven't gone anywhere. It's a bit like, to give a modern example, when you watch Star Wars and they kill Obi-Wan Kenobi and he goes, I'll become more powerful than I've ever been once you kill me. Because they go into another plane of existence. And in that way, Sachkhand for us is a place where these beings exist. So, Sun Samadhi, when he got to Sachkhand and they started to do Soda Rehraas every day, he didn't read it. He said, I'm in so much Simran, I'm doing Simran all the time, I don't need to read part. But what's the need? I'm already joined to Waheguru. And because of that, every time Soda Rehraas happens in Sachkhand, he gets sent down. He doesn't get to stay in Sachkhand when it's going on, because he denied. In a way, he had a bit of ahankar on his Simran. Because for us, what is Bani? Bani is words of Waheguru themselves. Sach ki Bani, Nanak aakhe, Sach sunaisi, Sach ki bela. This is a time for truth, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj has come to make us listen to the truth. So when Rehraas Sahib is done, we must understand that is Turki Bani. Yeah? Vaho Vaho Bani Nirankar hai. This is Jevad Avarna Koi. There's nothing like Bani upon this earth. Even if you study any religion, sometimes it's a bit hard. When you know a lot about Sikhi, fair bit about Sikhi, not a lot, it's very hard to go to an inter-religious debate. Because you feel like you should stand up and say, hey man, I got the truth here. Everybody's trying to be all nice to each other, right? But you feel like, hold on, I should just point out to everybody, the Bani is the word of God, right? Because really, the world is looking for this truth. The whole world is lost, and they're looking for this truth that is here in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. And it's the only scripture that's been checked by the person who said it, the prophet, so to speak. It's not really a prophet, it's not a perfect word. But for the Gurus, they're the only people that check their Bani. Christ never checked the Bible. Muhammad Sahib never checked the Quran. The Gitas weren't checked by Krishna. So here, it's the only Granth in the whole world checked by the Gurus. And even if our kids don't know anything else, they should know just one word, the word should. This one word comes up in Guru Granth Sahib Ji by itself. It's like sentence on both sides, should. And Guru Granth Sahib Ji has this word, for example, at the end of Asa Divar. Yeah? So karta ka adar kare. Yeah? At the end of that, right at the end of Japji Sahib, the last of Asa Divar, the last body, and then comes the word should. What does should mean? It means pure. What it means is, this firstly, it's the only Bani that was ever written down at the same time. Muhammad Sahib, when he said the Quran, people didn't write it down into paper straight away. It was written on pots, it was written on here, some people memorized it, wrote it down later on. And same with Jesus, it didn't get written down straight away. When it comes to the Gurus, they get Bhai Gurdas Ji to sit there and they read the Bani out, and Bhai Gurdas Ji writes it down straight away. Then they go over to Bhai Gurdas Ji, Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj goes over to Bhai Gurdas Ji, they check what Bhai Gurdas Ji has written. They make any changes, where he got the onkar instead of the lankar, those kinds of things, lav, dulav. They put that in, check it, and then they say shud. Shud means pure, means tick. They've checked it. So imagine, in the whole history of all religious books, this has never happened. They made sure that the Bani was perfect, Puran. If we can't just bow our head to that fact, let alone anything else, the Gurus definitely check their work to make sure the Bani is perfect, so later on we can't lose out. No one can cast any doubt upon our Bani. Even Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Bani, Zafarnama Lalo, it was written in Persian, transliterated into Gurmukhi. I went to a conference about 2-3 years ago about Zafarnama, and they were putting doubt upon Zafarnama. Is everything perfect in it? Well, there was a bit of mistakes here, there, changes, etc., etc. And all these people were stuck looking at the differences. And I asked them, I said, okay then, you're all academics, tell me what percentage of Zafarnama you think is written by Guru Gobind Singh Ji and is authentic. Do you know what they said? 95%, 99%, 95%, 99%. So I said, so you'll be sitting here for the last hour arguing about 5%, 1 to 5%, and putting doubt into all these people's minds. And they start thinking, should I read it at all? But the reality is, even Zafarnama, Guru Gobind Singh's writings, is pretty much exactly what Guru Gobind Singh Ji wrote. So look at Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Guru Granth Sahib Ji is exactly what Guruji wrote. We've got so much Bani which is preserved in the best possible way by literate Gursikhs. The Gurus were literate and the Gursikhs were literate. There's no pretension about the Gurus being illiterate and the Bani coming down and somebody writing it down. The Gurus are very well versed in literature. So, it is important for us to understand the value of part, and that the fact that the importance of Gurbani is so much that even this Sun Samadhi who was in Sachkhand had to come down from Sachkhand when he didn't read the part. So Sadda ki hona? We're not even in Sachkhand yet. So Rehraas Sahib is a way to reach Sachkhand and stay there. By reading Bani, Turki Bani Ai, where the Bani has come from, it will take us back there. There's a Sakhi that Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj, they were taking feathers from this bird, and this bird is a chatrik. This bird always flies, it doesn't rest ever, and it looks to drink the water from the rain that doesn't fall upon the ground. So it doesn't reach the ground, it drinks it while it's flying. So the rain bird, this never touches the ground, it's always up there. And Maharaj took a feather from this bird, attached it to this tir, an arrow. And they said to Guru Sikhs, go and find this arrow. They fired it into the air, and the arrow never came down. Arrow just stayed up. It just stayed up in the air. And the Guru Sikhs said, Maharaj, what is this kotak? What is this miracle that the arrow never touched the ground? They said, you see that feather? That's from a bird that never touches the ground. Because it's from that bird, it keeps the arrow in the air as well. It transfers its powers onto the arrow. They said the Gursikh that reads Bani that has come from Sachkhand, then that Gursikh will also go back to Sachkhand. Because the Bani has come from there, it will take us back there. So this is the way for us to understand Gurbani. It's something to earn, it's something to stick to. And if we have it memorized, then it's going to take us back there, isn't it? Now, yes, there is time for us to do Simran, there is time for us to do Vichar, but that doesn't mean that we don't keep our Rehat and stick to our Banis. Create more time, not create less time, create more time for Bani. We've got to be strict with ourselves. Can't leave Sikhi. Today's Hukamnama that I got, Maharaj says, imagine the person who leaves Vaheguru for the sake of the world. They lose in both sides. At least the person leaves the world for the sake of Sikhi, but lose in the world, but when the world passes away and they pass away, they win. But the person who gets to Vaheguru, gets the experience of Vaheguru, and then leaves Vaheguru for the world, that person is going to suffer twice. Firstly, they're not going to enjoy living in the world anyway. Ask anybody who's had Naam, Simran, Bani experience, and who's walked away from Sikhi. I've met people who walked away from Sikhi. Cut their case. They're not happy in the world. They know it's fake. You know, it's like living in the Matrix. If you look at the Matrix, there was a guy in the Matrix who sold them all out. If the people that know, sorry, don't see movie nahi dekhi, but in Matrix there's a guy who sells them out. He says to the guy when he sells them out, he said, make sure I go back into the world, but I don't remember any of this. Because he knows if he remembers that the world is fake, he's not going to enjoy it. But those people who leave Sikhi, go into the world, cut their case or whatever, stop doing their part, they're never happy in the world. Because they know now the world is fake and Guru is real. So then they're not going to be able to enjoy themselves in the world. And then also, when the world finishes, as it's going to, for them anyway, when their life finishes, then they won't get into Sachkhand as well. Utthe bhi wo haar gaye. Itthe bhi haar gaye, utthe bhi haar gaye. So what is the way to do? Forget the world anyway. Oh, harna hi harna. Nothing is going to stay with us. Jai rehna nahi aat jag, te kaayat garam handi. If we're not going to stay in this world, then why should we sit there with pride anyway? That's what Mara said, Nasa Diwa. So understand that Sikhi is about following the Guru's hukum. Itmarg challe paayade, Gur kahya sokar kamai jiyo. This path is a path of earning what the Guru said. It's not about whether how much vichar, how much gyan you've got. I was reading the vichar this time to get the body arth for this Rehraas Sahib. And I was reading the Amir Pandar, very old steek written by about Sant Amir Singh, by Sant Kirpal Singh, from the Pai Mani Singh Ji Taksal. So it's very old pustak, steek of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And it's very manya hoya, it's very respected. And I remember just reading the introduction up to Japji Sahib, and it was so long. We're talking hundreds of pages of Japji Sahib. And then the Salok, because I have the Katha of the Salok right now in Bradford, and I never read the Salok from there. And it was so long. And I was thinking, I don't know anything. I said, I just done Katha of this Slok, but I don't actually know anything because it's written here and it's gone over 30, 40 pages of the Slok. And the thing is in Sikhi, it is Beyant. The knowledge doesn't stop. It's Beyant amount of knowledge out there, right? But it's not just about knowledge. It's about Kamai as well. It's about earning it every day. It's pointless saying, I understand Japji Sahib, but you don't read it. Maharaj is going to be more happy with that person that reads Japji Sahib every day, but it doesn't maybe understand everything, but just apni nimirta naal, apne hukam anusar, Guru Sahib da hukam mandaya, does their rehat. Then the person who says, I know everything, but doesn't read it. Now, I want to just quickly touch upon the controversies about Rehraas Sahib. So there are different lengths of Rehraas Sahib. And we all know that, especially the people that come into Sikhi, they sit there getting confused. They got one gurkha in their hand, somebody reading out some other part. They're like, what's going on here? I remember myself, we used to have that Dawabbiya gurkha, the red one, in the Sikhi camp. And at a certain point, they'd go off that gurkha. And I was like, what? Where am I? I'd get lost. And then we'd come back on. So around about Chope Sahib, everything went a bit confusing. So the beginning part would be a bit different. And then the middle part is all from Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And then the end part gets a bit confusing. So, there is different versions. And I want to go through them. The shortest version is a Panthik Rehat Maryada Rehraas Sahib. This is the agreed version that people can do. That's the one that's read here in this Gurdwara. So in that one, they don't tend to read the 2 Shabads at the beginning, or 4 Shabads, let me say at the beginning, which is the Har Jug Jug Bhagat Paya and Dukh Daru Sukh Rog Paya. But in fact, if you look at the Nanak Singh tradition and the Nihang Singh tradition, before that even, they will read 2 more Shabads. Tan So Kaagad Kalam Dhan, Tan Panda Tan Mas. And Nanak Singh will read 1 more Pankti, 3 Shabads they will read. One which is not from Gurbani, but it's from our Janam Sakhiya. So it's something attributed to the Guru having said it, but it's not in Bani. So this is what they would do. So there are different verses at the beginning, but mostly we're agreed. Now, when it comes to the first 2, Har Jug Jug Bhagat Paya and Dukh Daru, these used to be sung. Not even as Gurdwara, they sing those. They don't read them as part of the part, but they sing them. And then they sing through Sodar, that was used to be sung as well in Rag Asa. And then after that, they read the rest of the Shabads. Yeah? So that tends to be the tradition of singing Sodar and some other Shabads beforehand. And then they go through. Now, when it comes to those 2 Shabads that the Taksali, so the minimum level is the Sikh SGPC, they call it now. But it's not really SGPC because it was the Akatak Maryada, right? That's what it was. They start from Sodar, as it is in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. They get to Asa Mahalla Panjama Pai Parapat Manu Dehuriya. Then after that, they just go straight into Benti Chope. And they stop Benti Chope after the first 25 chopes. Now, after 25 chopes, why do they do stop there? Because the rest of the shabads aren't really a benti anymore. They're describing the shabad. They're describing the granth, describing how the granth was written by the kirpa of Waheguru. And so they say, well, that's not the benti. This is kind of like extra bits that don't relate to the benti itself. There was some controversy, we talked about in Chope Sahib, we'll get to it again at some point. There was some controversy about some of the shabads, and the Panth agreed, okay, we'll do a compromise, that we'll just read up to 25. Now the word that's important is the word darz. Because the Rehraas Katha was written in Punjabi, then translated into English, we've got to go back to the Punjabi. And the Punjabi says darz. What darz means is that included. So what it says is, these are the shabads that are included in Rehraas Sahib. That doesn't mean this is the limit of Rehraas Sahib, or you can't do more. It just says this is what's included in Rehraas Sahib. So we must include the bit from Sodar to the last bit of Asa Mehla Panjama Pai Prabhat Mang De Huriya. We must include Chope Sahib, the first 25, and then we must include Che Padi of Anand Sahib, we must include Mandavani and the Salok. But that does not mean that is the limit of Rehraas Sahib. It just means must include. So if you go to a darbar and they read more, don't get offended. Think of it as more bani. But yeah, more bani the better, isn't it? So the thing to understand is that people get a bit argumentative about these things. They don't need to. It's just more bani. And darz hona matlab, you must do it. Like jive swere nitne vich, loki kehne ki 3 baniyan darz han. The Rehraas Katha will say that in the morning you must do 3 baniyan at least. Japji Sahib, Jab Sahib and Swaye. I remember coming here in the morning, and auntie said to me, she goes, 5 baniyan bahut kat ne. She goes, in the morning, read 5 baniyan is too little. She goes, it's a very hard world out there. Kaljog is awkward. You should be reading about 9 or 10 a day, she said, in the morning. Okay, but the auntie, she's got the right track. The more part, the better. So many people will read in the morning, they'll read Lamana part, they'll read Shabazar part, they'll read Basant Ki War, they'll read other part, yeah? Maybe they'll read Swaye or Deen Ki Swaye. They might read Sabazari Pashahi Dasmi. So these are all things that we should keep on adding to our Nitnem. In the same way, we can grow our Rehraas Sahib. We can start with the smallest version and we can keep growing. Add to it. It's good for us. One other thing to just note is that many people read Aarti in the evening as well. And that used to be a tradition that do Rehraas Sahib followed by, and then Aarti followed. So it is good to add more part. Now why are there some different arguments? Well, the longer version than the SGPC version is a Taksali version. Damdami Taksal keh lo or Pai Mani Singh Taksal keh lo. They're both Taksals and they tend to include a few extra dohiras at the beginning of Chope Sahib, few more at the end of Chope Sahib, and also they read the 2 shabads that we read here as well from Asa Diwar, Har Jug Jug Pagat Paya and Dukhdar. So that's added. And then the longest version is the shabad, is the one from Nanak Sir and Hang Singh's. That's the longest, Buddha Gutka. That's the longest version. So what we're going to do here, so we can accommodate everybody, we're going to go to the longest version, so that everything gets included, right? That way no one can complain, you see, then they can pick whichever they read, but at least the arth has been done. Because what we're not doing is doing the part, we're just doing the arth. Part apa karna hi karna. Whichever one we're going to do that one anyway. And as is noted by people already, we're not trying to argue with anybody, we're not trying to say do this or do that, we're just here to do arth. So when we understand the Bani, we can choose whether to read it or not. So I'm sure the Gurdwara committee, or the new committee, are going to be alright with that. So we'll go through the longest version. And that one, obviously, is the Nanak version. Now, there are some people that get a bit argumentative about this, because Baba Deep Singh Ji's Gutka is there, and Pai Mani Singh Ji's Gutka is there as well. And that includes Rehraas Sahib as a Taksali version. There's a little bit of difference between the two of them, but mostly includes the additional dohiras around Chope Sahib. So some people say, well, no, it should happen this way. And then they start saying, well, no, look at the Gutka, how can you know more than a Gutka? The important thing to understand is, the Panth decided in 1930s, after 13 years of deliberation, 1932-33 to 1945, they decided upon an agreed version. At the very least, let's just respect that it took 13 years to create 24 pages. And now, if we can't agree upon a simple 24 pages, and there's not nothing to argue about, it's all Bani and Darz Hangiya. So Darz means good, include them. If you want to read more, nothing wrong with it. so we can include the longer versions if we want to. So the first Shabad that ends up coming in the Nanak Sari / Hazur Sahib Gutka is Bhaguna Dev Ji Maharaj, which is in Rag Malar on Ang 1291 of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, and it's a salok. Mubarak says is Salok Mahalla Pehla Tan So Kaagad Kalam Dhan Tan Panda Tan Mas Tan Lekhari Nanaka Jin Naam Likhaya Sacho. Then Mahalla Pehla Ape Patti Kalam Aap Upar Lekh Pitu Eko Kahiye Nanaka Duja Kahe Ku. So Maharaj says these two slokas come together on the Ang. And what it says, Slok Mahalla Pehla, Tan So Kaagad Kalam Dhan. Now this is why Santya is important, so we can work out where to pause. Otherwise somebody can read this the wrong way around. I'm not going to read it the wrong way around, but it's very easy to not know where to pause and read this the wrong way around. So Tan So Kaagad. We say we have a little bit of a pause there. Blessed is that paper. Kaagad is like kagaz in Punjabi now or Hindi. Kagaz. That means the paper. Tan So Kaagad. Kalam Dhan. Again a pause there. The kalam is the pen. The pen is blessed. Blessed is the paper. Blessed is the pen. And one can explain why they're blessed. Yeah? Tan So Kaagad. Kalam Dhan. Tan Panda. Panda here is the actual inkwell. When you used to write in those days, they would have a pen and they would have an ink pot with the ink inside it. So the pen is blessed, the paper is blessed. Then the ink pot itself is blessed. And the ink mas, which is the ink itself, tan mas. Blessed is the ink inside the ink pot. So now all these four things are blessed. Tan So Kaagad Kalam Dhan, Tan Panda, Tan Mas, then Tan Lekhari Nanaka, Jin Naam Likhaya Sach. Blessed is a writer as well that is writing such. Naam Likhaya Sach. Satsangji, please understand, Bani is Naam. We're asking for Naam, but when we understand, the Maharaj is saying, Tan So Kaagad Kalam Dhan, Tan Panda, Tan Mas, Tan Lekhari Nanaka. Lekhari, the writer, the blessed writer is blessed. Kyo? Jin Naam, who wrote the Naam. Jin Naam Likhaya Sach. So Gurbani for us is Naam. And that's when you can't make Amrit with just the Khanda and the Bata. The Bani has to go into it as well. So Bani is Naam for us. So when we're writing Bani, we're getting blessed. That's why a lot of Guru Sikhs used to write Bani. They used to write their own Gutke. Pai Mani Singh Ji has their own Gutke in their own handwriting. They've written it down for themselves. Baba Deep Singh Ji wrote Guru Granth Sahib Ji many times. They sent it to different places. They even wrote Guru Granth Sahib Ji in Arabic in those days. They had the foresight to transliterate it into Arabic. Because they wanted people to read it. Back to what Maharaj is saying, that we are blessed when we write Bani. To explain to you the power of writing Bani and to encourage you guys, we've made videos now on our channel on how to write Gurbani. And we're going to get to Payal Bail Singh, which is a calligraphy in Gurmukhi. They're going to go up soon as well, on how to actually write Bani so it looks beautiful as well. That'll be going up so people can start practicing calligraphy at home. To give you a little sakhi about the power of writing Bani, it relates to this specific Shabad here. Pai Sahib Pai Randir Singh Ji, very famous Mahapurukh, who's manya hoya, especially among the AKJ. They once met a Gursikh who was of very high avastha, much higher than Pai Randir Singh Ji. And Pai Sahib Randir Singh Ji, they saw this person, they were like, wow. Because you know when somebody gets to a certain level, they can see the auras of people. And they could see this person was extremely high avastha. And they fell at their feet, literally. And they said, you're so amazing, I want to have your darshan. And they were holding on to their feet, and they were saying, talk to me. And they said, how did you get this much kirpa? How is it that you got so much kirpa? Because you know, Satsanga ji, when somebody gets to that level of pyas, har darshan ko mera man bahut tapta hai, jo trikha want bin neer, the person is thirsty for Waheguru darshan, then they go, Jodi se gur sikhda, this niv lago pai jiyo. I fall at their feet, and what do we say? Akha birtha ji ki Guru Sajjan Dehe Milai Jiyo. I tell you the pain of my heart, join me to my beloved Guru, give me the kirpa, and then he said, Soi das upadesara, mera man anatna kahu jai jiyo. Tell me the upadesh, the teachings on how my mind will not go anywhere else, but will stick to my Guru. And what this Guru Sikh said to Pai Sabandhi Singh Ji, he said, you know, the kirpa that I got in my life, I've written Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Sarup about 3-4 times by my own hand. They said, this is a hobby of mine, I write Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And because they wrote so much Bani, when you write Bani, you get it memorized as well. And they wrote so much Bani, they got that much kirpa just by writing Bani. So this Shabad is not some joke. Maharaj is telling us, Tan so Kaagad Kalam Dhan, Tan Panda, Tan Mas, Tan Lekhari Nanaka, Jin Naam Likhaya Sach. The person who writes Naam, i.e. Gurbani is Naam, that person will get blessed. So obviously we should read Naam every day. If we're doing Vaheguru Simran, we should also read our Japji Sahib and our Rehraas Sahib. And in a way, you can see that when we look at Guru Granth Sahib Ji now. That paper is blessed, isn't it? If it was normal paper, with nothing written on it, we wouldn't put it on our head. But now that paper has got that ink on it, which has got Gurbani on it, now we carry it on our head. Yeah? So, Purman Tera, Sire Upar, Pirna Kar de Bichar. When his order goes on top of our head, and Bani is Purman, Bani is Hukum, so we carry that on our head. Never ever throw any piece of paper that's got Bani on it into the recycling bin. This can be another lesson for us of Satkar. People are sending invitations to Akhand Paths with Ikko Onkar Satgur Prasad on it. Isn't that Bani now? It is, isn't it? So what if we're reading this Shabad, Tanaso Kaagad, then we're throwing that Kaagad into recycling or into the bin? That doesn't make any sense. Either we accept that is Bani and we treat it the same, or we don't understand the value of Bani. So Satkar of Bani must mean that we cannot write it on something and throw it down in the bin now. We must keep it at a higher level. So don't just print Bani everywhere you can. Keep it just for where it's meant to be, in Gutki, and on the screen here so we can understand it. Don't just stick it everywhere, it's no good there. So, Tan Lekhari Nanaka, Jin Naam Likhaya Sach. I'm going to finish off there, and then next week we'll go through the next bit. But the next body is pretty similar, but so that we can just repeat that next week. I'm sure in the Katha, generally in talking, I've made loads of mistakes. So please forgive me. But Kirpa Kare, that we can understand the Uchi Bani and put it into our life and earn it ourselves. So, Punachukka Dikhem Bakshi, Ao, Assis Baksho, Deho Se Nasi Sariya, Jo Hove Sahib Se Umer, Guru Ji Fateh Thanj Pao Ji, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru, Vaheguru.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru.